these video lectures are meant as a small series as an introduction for students to the evolution of technical communication. You all should have a handout of these PowerPoint slides that you can follow along with so you can get a better look at our documents. My group and I are going to go through several different historical documents throughout time and analyze the evolution of document design. The documents we're going to be using are government documents and other kind of law documents. To better understand document design, we have to break it down into several different parts. The first part is going to be super textual elements of design. These are going to be elements of design that unify the whole document. It's going to be mainly used for navigation purposes, and it's broken down into three different aspects. We have the textual aspect, the spatial aspect, and the graphical aspect. The first aspect, the textual aspect, is visual markers that are going to exist outside the main text. These are going to be any kind of actual text elements that you're not going to have to read for material, but it's going to serve for navigation purposes. So if text is going to be printed in various sizes, such as a full header, to just a single letter watermark on the back of a page, that's going to count as one of these elements. Pagination, which means like effects that are same from page to page, such as page numbers and headers and footers in terms of chapter titles that are displayed on every page, also going to count as these kind of elements. These effects are going to encompass the entire document and are meant to be seen from a distance so that you can understand where you want to document and what you're looking at without actually having to read the document. Some examples of textual aspects are here. This is a law book from the 1400s, and then this is also a law passed in Georgia from within 10 years ago. If we look at headers and footers, we can see that each document has a clearly defined header. So that here, in this law book, if you're flipping between the pages, you can easily see what subject you're on. We also have pagination down in the corner as a page number, which is just meant as an index, as a reference point, so when you're going between pages. Or if you have to go back at a future time, you can remember what page you were on. So you can find that page using these page numbers as well as the header. Each one of these documents also uses text as a method of dividing itself. Here, we have standard paragraphs that are indented, and then there's a capitalized whereas. This is a really easy way so that a reader can decide and can easily see that they're in a new subject because they've started a new paragraph and the text has changed. It's important to note that this is the same every time they start a new paragraph. Likewise, in this law book, we have large color letters to denote changing paragraphs and changing subjects. This way, even though you're not actually reading this document, you can instantly say, here is the beginning of a new subject. And then you can read that first sentence, and if that's what you're looking for, you're able to read it. If not, you can just keep going until you find what you're actually looking for. The next aspect is the spatial aspect. Now this is more the actual physical part of the document. This is the physical design to be used for navigation purposes. These choices are going to be about the document's design, and it's meant to assist readability. And it's a whole bunch of different decisions when you're actually constructing your document, such as paper choice, the size and shape as well as the type of paper. There's a lot of different paper choices that you're able to make. If you're just writing a letter to one of your friends, you type it on a computer and use a standard 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. But if you're printing photos or brochures or posters, then you're going to be using a laminated kind of paper, and you're going to be using a really large size, such as an 11 by 17, or a small like 4 by 6 for handouts. Older papers are also going to be using parchment and vellum, as well as various other kinds of papers. A binding method is going to be used if you have a very large document with multiple pages, in terms of stapling, glue binding, thermal binding, or comb binding, such as many of your notebooks. Folding is another method of physically changing the document for design, for where each panel of a fold is going to have different subject material. And these folds can be anything from just folding a paper in half to folding a letter in 3 parts to put into an actual envelope. Orientation is also important because you can decide if your document should be read upright in a portrait form or on its side in a landscape form. If you're looking at a spatial aspect, this is the first charter of Virginia, and you can really easily see how these paper choices came into effect. This is a really important law document, so if you notice, we don't have any folding. It's straight top to bottom, all information. The paper choice is handwritten parchment. It's a bit more expensive for the time, but since it's an important document, it's meant to have the best kind of paper you can find. And then also the orientation is just a simple portrait. Here, there's not a lot of special aspects because it's meant to be an official government document of great importance. So the designers of the document chose instead just to leave it as simple as they could. The last aspect is going to be graphical aspect. This is going to be used as graphics, the use of graphics to divide the document. It's important to notice that these are graphics used for navigation purposes. It's a more abstract element that dives back into the textual effects, where instead of using headers and footers of just clear text, we can use lines and bars and icons to define different sections of different headers and footers. I'm sure many of you have had textbooks where you'll have a box surrounding different graphs or figures, or also a large underline across technical definitions. That's an example of using graphical aspects to define your sections. Logos between pages are going to be another type of this aspect, as well as color choices between your text. There's a large variability in this particular section based on purpose. A letter to your friends, or maybe an essay you're writing for your teacher, is going to be very plain. You're not going to have any graphical assets. But likewise, if you're designing a poster for a presentation, or maybe a brochure to advertise something to your friends, you're going to want a lot of color, you're going to want a lot of images, and you're mostly going to be using these graphical elements to divide your document up. Some examples of this graphical aspect are, if we look at, once more, this law book, as well as another law passed by the state of Connecticut. If we look here, we can very easily see borders formed on this law book just by grouping the text together into these columns, as well as color choices in the law document. Here, we see that this letter is a bright red, and this letter is a darker black. Now, if you notice, the use of red here is to denote the end of your sections, as well as beginning of paragraphs within a section. So if you're looking at this section, you're going to start on a black letter, and then you're going to end with a red sentence. In this law document here, the borders are very clearly done by the use of boldface, and then grouping the paragraph together. And then we have a line that's going to separate out the footer from the rest of the document. These are really easy graphical divisions that are going to allow you to navigate the document. If you're reading this law document, you instantly know that you're at the beginning of a section, and that when you've reached the footer with that line, you're at the end of a section. Likewise here, you'll know that you're beginning on a black letter, and that you're ending if you're at red sentence.